Margaux, hi. Thank you so much for being a part of this and for being a Squish Star.
Thank you. We're so excited to be part of your podcast schedule.
Yes, and I'm so glad that you could be a part of it. I really wanted to highlight women entrepreneurs and founders to really shed light on all of the amazing things that they're doing, and especially thriving or just figuring things out and pivoting during this specific time as well. And I was especially excited to talk to you today because of your company, which is so cute and unique. And I will allow you to really, jump in and explain everything. But I'm most curious how, a lot of times people ask me like, oh, marshmallows, like, how did that happen? Whatever. And I'm like, well, but seemingly, I guess candy or food, why not? But you have, I don't know if you have another descriptive word for it, but I would call it in the same realm of like artisanal chalk, which is just like the coolest, but also it makes me think, how did you come up with that? So Margaux, how did you come up with that?
I have to admit, I have a business partner, and she was my son's preschool art teacher. And it's very hands-on preschool, and she started doing it as a classroom project. And I was watching her, and she couldn't figure out how to do it because it's very sensitive to heat and light and temperature. And she just kept, she's very hard-headed. She just kept trying and trying, and she brought it home to try it some more. And I was just watching, and I kept thinking to myself, like, I have a background in fashion public relations, and I've been a mom, and I just kept saying, like, she is on to something. She's on to something. And then I just waited for her to get very, very tired. And I was like, I really think this could be huge. So we partnered in August, and we were in every Nordstrom by October. So we make—
Wait, like a 2-month turnaround?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
What is your secret?
We have a very special company. We have a very beautiful product. And I think honestly that our secret is that we both believe in it so much that when you have that kind of passion, when you have that kind of drive, that you always say yes. Like you say yes to every opportunity, you pursue every opportunity, and you pursue it to your absolute fullest. And I think that really is how we've gotten to where we are now. So we make artisanal sidewalk chalk. It is all handmade. It is all made in Philadelphia. It ships from Philadelphia. We started about 3 years ago. So Kate took it to her apartment kitchen. We moved her into my garage. But we live in Philadelphia, so it's a small garage. It's not like a 2-car garage. It's a small garage. And she started making in there. And then we took over my living room, and then we took over my kitchen, and we filled our first Nordstrom order, and we went to 118 stores from my house. And then and I don't know how much people understand about like when you ship to a big store like that, you put it on pallets, and there's boxes on boxes on boxes. And they brought a tractor trailer down our street, and the man was like, "This is the first time I've ever picked up from somebody's house." And I was like, "Well, it's the first time we've ever sold to Nordstrom." But we went from there to a studio, and now we're in about 5 different studios in this amazing building, and there's 15 women working here every day. And it's absolutely amazing when I think about making it in the garage.
Well, yeah, these are all of those romantic stories of how most people get started making it out of their homes. Exactly. And then sure enough, once there's that demand and you start to grow, well, of course you have to graduate, but that's where most people all get their start, right? Because you want to be able to also test things out without that additional overhead, and make sure that things are going in the way that you want them to, and then you can graduate. But you start small, right? What is it? You got to crawl before you run. So so you did exactly what I would think, but the fact of now let me ask, because I'm very curious with the chalks, because if anybody isn't familiar, you have to go to their website or Instagram immediately and see, because it's not, I don't want people to imagine, just fancy sticks of chalk, because these are chalks that look like items like donuts, like macarons, like diamond gemstones. Like, these are very, very cool. What is kind of the process like in coming up with the different shapes or themes, and do you make molds to do it? Like, what is, I'm just fascinated by the process. I know you probably answer this question all day every day, but it's the first time I'll be able to hear it, so I'm pumped.
We are a dual purpose tool. So we are a beautiful product that you can create art with, but we are also a pretend play item. So you can take, for example, your donut, and you take your donut and you can have a tea party with your friends. And as you're having the tea party, you can draw your tabletop on the sidewalk. So our goal is to get kids to take it, but take it to that next level of using their imagination. That it can be a macaroon, but it can also be a spaceship. So we really try to promote that. And the other part that all of our designs have that people really don't realize at first glance is, unlike a lot of other kid fueled products, ours, we think about how a child is going to hold or grasp it. So they're all for special little hands. Working on grip strength, working on that muscle memory that you need to be a good writer. Everything we have, we think about like a 3-year-old hand up to a 12-year-old hand. So you'll see things that are tiny that they can really like hook into, get their hands around, and feel confident when they're using it in their drawing. Our process here is very similar to a bakery. And we actually call our main making studio a makery. So it's a mix between a maker studio and a bakery. We create our molds. I would say we create about 75% of our molds from scratch.
Wow.
From to final design. And the other molds, similar to like the donut mold, it's a standard mold. It's how you are presenting it. And I think that's a lot about our chalk too. Like, we have not done anything to revitalize chalk. Chalk is chalk, but it's how we've presented it to the kids that makes it special and makes it something they really want to use.
Yeah, well, and it's brilliant, and when people see it and have it in their hands, they understand that. And I love that extra attention to detail about the size of it and the child's dexterity and holding it. I think that added layer is super important. Whether people who are purchasing it realize it or not, it'll be, something that they won't even have to think about. They'll just be like, wow, look at my kid go. They're going crazy with this amazing chalk and just having a blast, which I think is the ultimate purpose for it. So knowing that you sold online, but also in a lot of these stores as well, over the past number of months, when retail has been shifting a lot just due to a lot of closures or temporary closures, limited capacity and things like that, what sort of things have you noticed with your business, or what sort of changes have you maybe needed to make?
It's been really very difficult for us. Our two main audiences are New York and LA, and they were very early and hard hit with the pandemic. So we felt that we internally felt that emergency. We've been very brokenhearted to see friends and colleagues have to shut their businesses. because of economic situation and because people, the last thing they really feel like they want to do is to go in shopping. So that's really been very difficult for us here. But the flip side of it is that because we are still functioning, because we are still making, we feel so incredibly lucky. I would say our biggest switch is that we were very much focused on wholesale, and now we are really focusing on the direct to consumer, the marketing, the figuring out who our customer is directly to us. And so that's been, it's always been thinking about what stores do we want to be in? What stores do we want to have a presence? And now it's really about like, who is the person that is buying this and how do we reach them? So it's a similar process, but it really has made us look at everything a little different.
Sure, because a lot of times you can look at the retailer and maybe get a broad sense of who their customers are, but it's hard to know, right? Because you're not really there. You don't have that exact data of who the exact people purchasing are, which as long as you're selling is great, but this gives you that additional insight into, and especially with technology and analytics and things like that, maybe a little bit more into who actually your customers are and who are the ones that are coming back, and and who can you appeal to the most in a marketing perspective. Was shifting to more of that focus a big challenge, or did you already have some of that infrastructure in place where it was just really doubling down and really putting that as the main focus?
It's funny, the older and older I get, I always think to myself, this is my last trip to IKEA. Like, this is my last trip. I'm never gonna have to come to IKEA again. And then I find myself always like putting my own furniture together. We're based in Philadelphia. When Philadelphia shut down for COVID, we totally stopped our wholesale, and we took which isn't all of our inventory, which isn't a tremendous amount, and we put it back in my garage. And yeah, so then, and it's similar to the IKEA that I'm like, we'll never do this again. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, we're back in the garage. So I was working out of the garage in the basement, and Kate was making in her backyard, and her mother was making in her backyard, and we were shipping out more than we have ever sold before. So it was amazing that we saw with 3 of us what we could do, but it also really it invigorated us, because as you grow, you get further and further away from the process of making, from knowing how much an envelope costs to mail, and you're relying on other people to do it and then tell you it back, and you stop getting that tactile experience that you have initially when you start a business. And 3 out, it was a bad thing that we had to do it, but it was a really good thing for us to take that step back, to go back to how we were doing it before, to find out what we did like, what we didn't like, what we could do better. And now it's interesting to communicate that with your employees, because you're like, I know you can do this because I did it. And I'd had such a separation from being able to say that to where I was pre-COVID, that it really made me much more in tune with what it takes, what we need to do, and where we are. But it is amazing right now. I just sat in on a talk about Google search terms, because you're right, it's all analytics, it's all search terms, it's where does your visitor stop? Where does your visitor leave? How does your visitor complete things? It's amazing. I find it so amazing. And it's so neat to be able to learn, because this is all new for us. And the 3 most improved search terms for Google are art supply, kid activity, and meat subscription. So I'm like, we have 2 of the 3. Like, this is our
yeah, well, I mean, your product in particular, I would automatically think, wow, this is a business that is probably seeing a demand right now, because parents are so hungry for activities for their kids to do that might also be away from the screen and things like that. And especially being outside is promoted right now too. Be outside, and just being in nature in general is good for the spirit, but it's safer and things like that too. And so what better thing to combine those, being outside and being creative, and the kids are occupied and they're doing nice things and everybody wins. So I would certainly think, yes, I mean, it makes sense, because that's something that I think people are looking for. And not to mention too, it makes a beautiful gift. So if it's not somebody getting it for themselves, or if they have kids or not, whatever, if you know somebody who is pulling their hair out because they're going bonkers, homeschooling a kid and dealing with their business and everything else, and then you say, oh my God, here's a gift, you're welcome, it's beautiful, tell the kids to go outside and play, you're welcome. So
yes, no, you're 100% right. And also, I think we're seeing also a resurgence of this desire to connect to people from afar. So I know in Philadelphia, especially, I know I've seen a little bit of it in the news in New York, people writing messages in chalk on their pavement of like good feelings and hopes. And I think there's really been that need to, although you cannot physically connect in person with your friend down the street, you can leave her a little message, leave her a little drawing, so that when she walks by with her scooter, she can see that you were thinking about her. So we have seen that, but we've also seen, and going back to what you said with the gifts, again, from when I was fulfilling orders from the living room, it's so hard to be away from people you love. And I think I really saw that in the notes that were being included in the gifts that we're shipping. Grandmoms, grandparents, aunts and uncles who miss the kids so much and miss their families and are just not able to, from a far away place across the country, connect, and are sending these little tokens of thinking of you and of appreciation. So it kind of like raises your hopes a little bit too when you see all of that going out. Because there's a small child who misses their aunt or uncle on the other end who's like, wow, this is like a little piece of joy in the mail.
100%. I know that you've been probably busier now than maybe prior to all of this happening, because you are very hands-on right now. Not to say you weren't before, but if you do allow some time for decompression or self-care, what kind of rejuvenates you, or has been really like a saving grace for you during this time? If it's bubble baths or red wine or whatever it is.
I have 2 little boys at home. They're 6 and 9, and they're being homeschooled. They are, they don't understand fully what is going on, but like going home to them and being able to connect with them and just, give them the attention that they need. It kind of like separates you from a little bit from it. It gives you a chance to relax and play a little rummy. And it's just really nice to able to leave where it's so busy here and go home and like refuel and connect.
100%. And yes, and one, and you, and your product is helping people on the other end do that as well. So I think, you know, it comes full circle, and it's so nice. I really want people to be able to see your product, purchase it, and spread the word. So please plug away. Where can people purchase? Where can they follow along on the journey? Let them know.
So our website is tweemade.com, and our Instagram is at tweemade or at tweemade. We have so much going on. We have so many amazing people here working. To get a chance to go on Instagram and see our behind the scenes, I think is so cool, because then you see Olivia making something, and you see Kate working on a new design, and you realize that when you get your sushi sidewalk chalk, it didn't come out of the machine, but it like came out of like Lisa painting it. And I think that it's so foreign to people, because they place the order and it shows up in their mail. But when you go onto our website and when you go on to our Instagram, you see the people that are literally packaging your product. And I think that's so special.
Yes, it adds a layer of intimacy there, that it's oh, I'm potentially watching my order being made, and I think that understanding then lends to a greater appreciation of it, that there are humans behind all of this, right? That are physically creating and making and packaging this, and it's not an automated system. And I think that people as well, myself included, really enjoy supporting things like that even more, because they feel that connection, and they say, oh, this is amazing. Look what they're doing. This is so cool. And I want to support that. So I hope that everybody does and continues to go and support that. Margaux, thank you again so much for being a part of this and for being a Squish Star. I really do appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for having us and getting a chance to talk about TWEE, which is I just love it. It's so exciting for me to be able to share the excitement with other people.
And it shows, and they're going to be excited when their beautiful handcrafted chalk arrives at their door. So thank you so much again.